House will be in order. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to House Resolution 566, I call up the bill H.R. 1 with the Senate amendment thereto, and I have a motion at the desk.
The clerk will report the title of the bill, designate the Senate amendment, and designate the motion.
H.R. 1, an act to provide for reconciliation pursuant to Title II of House Concurrent Resolution 14, Senate Amendment. Mr. Arrington of Texas moves that the House concur in the Senate amendment to H.R. 1.
Pursuant to House Resolution 566, the motion shall be debatable for 1 hour, equally divided among and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on the Budget or their respective designees, and the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Ways and Means or their respective designees. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Arrington, the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Boyle, the gentleman from Missouri, Mr. Smith, and the gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Neal, each will control 15 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material on the Senate amendment to H.R. 1.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, today we're considering H.R. 1, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, is passed by the Senate. This bill creates the right incentives for historic economic growth, makes unprecedented investments in our military and border security, and implements the largest spending reduction in American history by 2-fold, alongside other generational fiscal reforms. America's economic strength, Mr. Speaker, is the foundation of our global leadership and prosperity. But sadly, it has waned, and especially over the last 4 years. To preserve our influence abroad and our quality of life here at home, we must unleash growth, starting with the largest tax cut in U.S. history. Just like the first Trump tax cuts, we can expect record job growth, investment, repatriation of capital back to the United States, record low unemployment, record high wage growth, and the lowest poverty rates in recorded history. This bill also equips our troops and law enforcement, Mr. Speaker, to defend our sovereignty, protect our citizens, and secure our border after years of neglect and lawlessness. While more work remains, no doubt, to rein in Washington's out-of-control spending and put our nation on a more sustainable fiscal path, I'm confident that H.R. 1 will make America safe, strong, and prosperous once again, and give our children, most importantly, like my daughter Jane, who is here with me today, a better and brighter future in this, the greatest nation in human history. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time is reserved. Gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
Well, here we are again. As Yogi Berra once said, it's deja vu all over again. Debating this bill in the middle of the night. Boy, this crowd must love prime time in Guam. This has been the worst process of the worst bill I have ever seen during my decade in Congress. This is not what our founders intended, far from it. And while the process stinks, the substance is even worse. The bill still kicks 17 million Americans off their health care. Record cuts to Medicaid, record cuts to the Affordable Care Act, record cuts to Medicare. But that's not all. 4.5 million kicked off nutrition assistance, mostly seniors and children. Why? To help subsidize massive tax cuts that mostly go to the top 1%. Of course, all of those cuts, over $1.5 trillion worth, don't come close to paying for the more than $5 trillion worth of tax cuts. So who pays the remainder? our national credit card. So here we are, actually voting not just for the biggest loss of health care in American history, but the biggest increase in our national debt in American history. I have no idea what in the world the crowd that was holding out got for holding out. Does anyone know? It is a complete mystery to me and to the American people. But one thing is clear. There is one group making out as a result of this bill, the billionaire class. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield the remainder of my time. Or excuse me, I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time is reserved. Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to my good friend, the gentleman from the Keystone State, Pennsylvania, Mr. G.T. Thompson.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The One Big Beautiful Bill marks the most significant investment in our farm economy in decades and delivers the most sweeping reforms to SNAP since the program's creation. We're saving nearly $200 billion by restoring integrity to SNAP, closing loopholes, reinforcing work, and ending on-check state abuse, all while preserving the program for the truly vulnerable. At the same time, we're delivering $120 billion in deficit reduction and saving 2 million family farms from the death tax. We strengthen the farm safety net, invest in trade, research in rural communities, and help keep ag innovation here in the United States of America, not in China. This is a down payment on the Farm Bill, and the rest is coming soon. Make no mistake, this is a generational win for rural America. I'd like to thank Agriculture Committee members for their continued work in developing and advancing this policy. We're protecting taxpayers, helping low-income Americans return to work, and securing the future of American agriculture and our rural communities. The One Big Beautiful Bill delivers on President Trump's campaign promises, and it's a win for the American people. And I yield.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania.
I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Texas, distinguished member of the Budget Committee and ranking member of the Ways and Means Health Subcommittee, Mr. Doggett.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 1 minute.
At 3:35 in the morning, a favorite time of Republicans for taking up this bill, we consider a travesty. The Senate took an ugly bill, went out and whipped it with an ugly stick, made it even uglier. 17 million Americans going without health insurance, a 17% increase in electric rates, the largest nutritional assistance cut in American history, leaving Americans hungry. And yet the Independent Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget condemns this as exploding our debt, spiking it to new record highs, and accelerating the insolvency of Social Security and Medicare. One thing remains the same. It takes from those with the least and gives to those with the most, lining the pockets of the super rich with millions in tax giveaways. It is mean, it is cruel, it is wrong. That's why it's being taken up at this hour of the morning, as they have done throughout this process. Let's reject this ugly bill and stand up for Americans. I yield back.
Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from California and fellow Budget Committee member, Mr. Tom McClintock.
Gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, this bill fulfills many of the promises we made to the American people. Lower taxes, lighter regulations, a secure border, more frugal spending, and a war on waste. Throughout history, these are the policies that have produced prosperity and security, and there's every reason to believe that they will again. I remind my conservative friends who say this bill doesn't go far enough that our process was not designed to make perfect law. It was designed to make the best law that's acceptable to a majority, and judging by the narrow votes, we've pushed this bill about as far toward perfection as our process allows. The proof is not in the debate points scored today, but rather next year, when Americans will ask themselves if they're better off. I believe because of this bill, the answer will be a resounding yes. And perhaps that's what the Democrats fear most. I yield back.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Mr. Speaker, I now yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from New Jersey, a distinguished member of the Budget Committee, Ms. Watson-Coleman.
The gentlelady from New Jersey is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to discuss this big, disgusting billionaire bailout bill. This year, I've traveled the state of New Jersey hearing from the constituents of my 3 GOP colleagues. I spoke to some of the 178,000 people in Rep. Van Drew's district on New Jersey Family Care who will lose their coverage, and the parents of the nearly 100,000 children in Rep. Smith's district who are at risk of losing their New Jersey Family Care health coverage. And I spoke to some of the 11,000 seniors in Kane's district who are worried about their nursing homes having to shut down. And what I heard from all of those constituents in those 3 districts was that they are very disappointed that they were not able to communicate with their representatives because their representatives were hiding from them because they could not justify their support of this big, disgusting billionaire bailout. I encourage my colleagues from New Jersey to listen to their constituents and vote no. And may God forgive those who do not do for the least among us. I yield back.
Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I yield a minute to my friend from Arkansas and our chairman of the Natural Resources Committee, Mr. Bruce Westerman.
Gentleman from Arkansas is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of H.R. 1, which unleashes American energy and unlocks many of our abundant natural resources. We're incentivizing domestic production in the Gulf of America and Alaska with at least 30 lease sales in the Gulf and 6 lease sales in the Cook Inlet, and mandating lease sales every other year in the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska. Our mission to responsibly develop our resources doesn't end there. The bill also requires coal lease sales, reduces royalty rates on American oil and gas and coal production, and incentivizes production, thereby lowering energy costs and supplying our country with domestically dependable energy. But that's just the beginning. The bill also invests in crucial water resource infrastructure and helps implement President Trump's executive orders on forest management. Republicans on the Committee on Natural Resources are proud of this historic legislation that unlocks our domestic resources potential and supports hardworking Americans and communities nationwide. As we become energy dominant again and mine, refine, and manufacture again in America, I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I yield back.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Mr. Speaker, I now yield 1 minute to the gentleman from California, the Democratic Caucus Chairman, Mr. Aguilar.
Gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Speaker, the American people sent us here to work together to address the issues like the affordability crisis. Democrats are ready to work with anyone to make housing more affordable, to make child care more affordable, and to make everyday goods like groceries less expensive. But, Mr. Speaker, the policies within this big, ugly bill are going to raise costs, not lower them. Healthcare costs are going to go up as Medicaid gets gutted. Electric bills are going to go up when clean energy tax credits are wiped out at the request of the oil lobbyists. And cutting food assistance programs like SNAP is going to hurt working people who are already getting squeezed at the checkout line because of these reckless tariffs. These are the same working people who were told by my Republican friends that lowering costs would be their top priority. That has not been the case, and the American people are poorer, and it is more expensive to live here as a result. The economy is teetering on the brink, Mr. Speaker. Every single piece of evidence tells us that a vote for this bill is a vote to make things worse. I urge a no vote.
Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to my friend from Michigan, our chairman of the Education and Workforce Committee, Mr. Tim Walberg.
Gentleman from Michigan is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The One Big Beautiful Bill is one big beautiful win for the American people. Americans struggled under crushing inflation driven by the Biden-Harris administration's outrageous spending. Even worse, the Biden-Harris administration spent billions on reckless student loan repayment pauses, forcing Americans who never set foot on a college campus to cover the costs of elite Ivy League degrees. House Republicans have the chance to right those wrongs and deliver real results for the American people by passing the One Big Beautiful Bill. Under President Trump, our economy is booming thanks to pro-growth policies that help workers, students, and taxpayers prosper. By passing this bill, we have a chance to seize on a generational opportunity to help put more Americans back on the path to the American dream. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania.
I now yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New Jersey, the ranking member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, Mr. Pallone.
Gentleman from New Jersey is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the most shameful bill that I've ever seen. It takes health care away from 17 million people in order to give giant tax breaks to billionaires and large corporate interests. The increase in uncompensated care will force hospitals to close and nursing homes to close and increase costs for those who still have insurance. Now, costs are going to soar for hardworking families across the country as health insurance premiums and energy bills and medical debts rise for millions while the rich get richer. However, this bill doesn't just destroy Americans' access to see their doctors or afford their monthly medications. It also makes devastating cuts to American energy and jobs, which will further increase energy bills and eliminate jobs across the country. Mr. Speaker, this bill is fundamentally cruel. Hardworking Americans don't deserve to be treated this way by the Republicans in Congress, but the Republicans simply don't care. I urge my colleagues in the strongest terms to join me in voting no, and I yield back.
Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to my friend from Arkansas, our chairman of the Financial Services Committee, Mr. French Hill.
Gentleman from Arkansas is recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the chairman. I thank the speaker. I rise in strong support of H.R. 1, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. For too long, government spending has grown unchecked. Last November, American voters sent a clear message: rein in government spending. Our financial services title exceeds our $1 billion budget instruction by over $600 million. It caps the Consumer Financial Protection Budget Authority by nearly half, rescinds unobligated unused funds from the SEC's Reserve Fund, and HUD's Green and Resilient Retrofit Program. And it targets $1 billion for strategic use under the Defense Production Act to ensure that America can meet its national security supply chain requirements for the 21st century. Overall, this bill stops a huge tax increase for our working families in Arkansas, spurs major investments for small businesses, gives law enforcement the tools they need to secure our southwest border, strengthens energy security, and reduces government spending. It delivers on the promises that we made to Americans' voters. I support this bill strongly. I urge a yes vote, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 30 seconds to the gentlewoman from Vermont, distinguished member of the Budget Committee, Ms. Ballant.
Gentlewoman from Vermont is recognized.
Mr. Speaker,
30
this
seconds.
is a cruel bill. Thousands of Americans will die because of it. Rural hospitals will close, millions will lose their health care, and kids will go hungry. Americans will be poorer. They will be sicker because of my Republican colleagues, because they are falling in line instead of standing up for their people back home. This bill shows us their priorities, and it's not you. They are taking away your health care to give more money to the very wealthy. This bill is for billionaires, not for you. I yield back.
Gentlelady's time's expired. Members are reminded to address their remarks to the chair. Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to our friend from the Commonwealth of Kentucky and our chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee, Mr. Brett Guthrie.
Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentleman for yielding. And today I rise in support of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which includes the work of the Energy and Commerce Committee to unleash American energy, promote innovation, and protect health care for the most vulnerable Americans. We claw back wasteful and unnecessary spending. We unleash affordable and reliable American energy and support technological innovation by reauthorizing the Spectrum Auction Authority. And we secure Medicaid for those who need it most: mothers, children, seniors, and people with disabilities. Democrats continue to fearmonger and misrepresent what's in this bill, but let me be clear. House Republicans are eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse to focus Medicaid on the most vulnerable, not able-bodied adults who choose not to work. We're fighting for common sense policies to protect America's children, pregnant women, mothers, individuals with disabilities, and low-income seniors. This bill delivers on the promises the President and congressional Republicans made to the American people. That is why I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 30 seconds to the gentleman from Rhode Island, distinguished member of the Budget Committee, Mr. Amo.
Gentleman from Rhode Island is recognized for 1 minute.
Budgets
30 seconds.
are a statement of values. Republicans are showing they have none. People will suffer, people will die, and it will be at the hands of Republicans who vote yes. The top 1% are salivating over getting an extra $300,000 a year because of this dangerous bill. Billionaires win. 17 million Americans will lose their health insurance, largest health care cut ever. 42 million Americans are at risk of losing food assistance. Children will go hungry. Republicans claim to be the party of faith, patriotism, and families. A yes vote supports none of these virtues. This is shameful. I'm a hell no. I yield back.
Gentleman from Texas recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to my friend from Alabama, our chairman of the Armed Services Committee here in the House, Mr. Mike Rogers.
Gentleman from Alabama is recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the chairman for yielding for his leadership throughout this process. Mr. Speaker, years of chronic underinvestment in our national security has shattered American deterrence. It's allowed our adversaries to threaten and challenge us in new and unprecedented ways. But that ends today. Because today, with the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill, we begin implementing President Trump's Peace Through Strength agenda. H.R. 1 includes a historic $150 billion investment in America's national defense that will help us begin building the Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland, begin to revitalize our defense industrial base, help us secure our border because border security is national security, begin to rebuild our munition stockpiles and critical minerals supply chains, and continue to improve the quality of life of our service members and their families. With these investments, we will work to restore American deterrence and build the ready, capable, and lethal fighting force President Trump promised. I want to commend the President, the Speaker, and Leader Thune for prioritizing national security in this bill, and I want to thank Chairman Wicker for his strong partnership throughout this process. I urge all members to support this bill, and I yield back.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Speaker, may I inquire as to how much time remains on both sides?
Gentleman has 8 minutes. Gentleman from Texas has 6.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I yield 30 seconds to the gentleman from California, distinguished member of the Budget Committee, Mr. Panetta.
Gentleman from California is recognized for 30 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, this partisan tax bill will be our nation's single largest self-inflicted wound to working families and to our economy. It's the largest unfunded tax break for the wealthiest families and will lead to the largest number of working families losing health care. What's worse is that you're fooling yourself to believe it's paid for. Instead, it adds trillions to our debt that will drag down our economy and our credibility. And rather than negotiating with Democrats, you're just placating the president. So I'm voting no, Mr. Speaker, on this partisan bill to stand up to the president and to stand with working families and to stand for the financial stability of our country and the credibility of this institution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. John McGuire.
Gentleman from Virginia is recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the gentleman from Texas for yielding me the time. Mr. Speaker, this One Big Beautiful Bill delivers the American people the promises of President Trump's America First agenda and prevents the largest single tax hike on the middle class in history. A no vote on this bill is a vote for sabotaging the United States' energy dominance, blocking critical investments to revolutionize our military to address 21st century threats. It eliminates over $700 billion in wasteful Medicaid spending for illegal aliens and people who can work but refuse to work, instead of America's most vulnerable. I urge all my colleagues to vote yes on this historic piece of legislation. And, Mr. Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 30 seconds to the gentlewoman from Ohio, distinguished member of the Budget Committee, Ms. Capter.
Gentlewoman from Ohio is recognized for 30 seconds.
I thank the ranking member, Mr. Speaker. This big bonanza bill for billionaires will make life harder for the people of Northwest Ohio and America. Unemployment is already up in Toledo, hovering around 6%. 1,100 Jeep Gladiator workers in Toledo are idled, and 2,500 workers at Perrysburg's First Solar are on the chopping block as the Trump administration cedes in this bill our glass industry and America's lead in solar energy to China. Grocery prices are up 2%, yet the bill freezes SNAP, a cut for 45,000 families in my district, and $18 million monthly blow to local grocers. The bill assures billionaires get $300,000 in tax breaks every year, while seniors and working people lose Medicaid and SNAP, and the largest cut to health care in American history, cutting over $1 trillion. The bill recklessly adds $3.4 trillion to the U.S. debt, and interest rates will climb. Congress can create a much brighter future for America by defeating this big, bloated bonanza bill for billionaires. I yield back.
Gentleman from Texas.
I reserve, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Minnesota, the ranking member of the Agriculture Committee, Ms. Craig.
Gentlewoman from Minnesota is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Republican budget is a betrayal of the American people. It puts in jeopardy food assistance for 42 million Americans. That's children, seniors, the disabled, and working parents. 1.2 million veterans rely on SNAP for their food. This budget turns their back on them. 270,000 veterans, homeless, and former foster youth will lose their food assistance entirely. The vulnerable are left behind. The middle class gets screwed in favor of the ultra-wealthy. I'm a hell no, and I yield back.
Gentlewoman yields. Gentleman from Texas recognized.
Speaker, I just remind the gentlelady and my colleagues, my Democrat colleagues, that after the Trump tax cuts, the first Trump tax cuts, the bottom half income grew 3 times faster than the top half. The lower 10% wages increased 2 times over the 1%. People at the bottom, people in the middle, they benefited more from the tax breaks. So I yield or reserve the remainder of my time.
Gentleman reserves the remainder of his time. Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, it's now my distinct honor to yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from California, the Speaker Emerita of the House, Ms. Pelosi.
Speaker Emerita is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding and for his exceptional leadership, recognizing that our budget should be the statement of values of our country and how we allocate our resources reflecting those values. I ask to speak because I hear you members on the other side talking about spending on the part of the Democrats, spending for education and health care, and all the needs of food for our children. I just want to remind all of them, speaking to you, Mr. Speaker, that tax cuts are expenditures. They're the biggest spending in this bill, to the tune of $5 trillion. $5 trillion added to the national debt to give tax cuts to the wealthiest people in the country at the expense of feeding our children, health care for our people, and the education of our children. And nothing brings more money to the Treasury than the education of the American people, from early childhood to lifetime learning and every phase of it in between. So you should be ashamed of yourselves to mock spending on education. The best dollar we spend is on educating the American people and the investments in scientific research, the biblical power to cure that science provides for us, cut in this bill, to spend $5 trillion for the wealthiest people in America. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from Texas recognized.
Mr. Speaker, budgets are value statements. We value letting working families keep more of their hard-earned dollars. We value stewarding tax dollars, protecting our most vulnerable, preserving programs that they depend on, not allowing people in this country illegally to siphon money away, jeopardizing those safety nets. Mr. Speaker, with that, I yield a minute to my friend from Georgia, fellow Budget Committee member, Mr. Buddy Carter.
Gentleman from Georgia recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of H.R. 1. We have a choice. Continue down our current fiscally unsustainable path where we have waiting lists for Medicaid, insufficient border security resources, and are facing the largest tax hike in American history, or change course. The One Big Beautiful Bill ushers in the golden age of America, as our great president says, where taxpayers, not illegal immigrants, are put first. It eliminates tax on tips and overtime and brings tax relief to seniors. It saves, it sustains Medicaid, and it's there for those who truly need it. It secures our southern border, making every community safe. All that is required of us is to unleash this prosperity, Mr. Speaker, is to vote yes. I'm proud to vote for this bill and encourage my colleagues to unleash America's shackles and make this country work for those who work for it every single day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
I reserve.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania reserved. Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I yield a minute to my friend from Georgia, Mr. Mike Collins.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the chairman. Mr. Speaker, campaign promises made and soon to be campaign promises kept. I spent my entire career in the private sector. I know what those Trump tax policies did for me, for my business, my community, my state, and my country. And now with this bill, we're going to bring inflation under control with energy dominance. We're going to make sure that small businesses have certainty with our tax policies out there. And also, Mr. Speaker, we're going to bring these federal agencies under control by deregulation. You do that, and you will unleash the American entrepreneurial spirit out there. This is a big day for Main Street. Wall Street has had their time. I encourage my colleagues, vote for this bill. Let's get this thing to the president's desk, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Pennsylvania.
I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Texas.
I reserve, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Texas reserves.
How much time do I have, Mr. Speaker?
Gentleman from Texas has 3 minutes. Gentleman from Pennsylvania has 5.5. Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
We reserve.
I'm ready to close.
This is like a tennis game.
You ready to close?
Oh. I am prepared to yield to one more speaker, and then we'll close.
Great.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
So with that, yield to my good friend, the gentleman from the Commonwealth of Kentucky, who they tell me is behind me. Let's hope they're right, Mr. McGarvey. All right.
How much time?
Oh, 1 minute. Thank you.
Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A budget is a series of choices. Republicans are choosing to take health care away from 17 million Americans. Republicans are choosing to take food off the plates of hardworking families, kids, and seniors. Republicans are choosing to blow up the national debt by trillions of dollars. And for what? Also, the top 0.1% can pay even less in taxes. I don't ever want to hear a Republican say they care about rural America or the debt ever again if they vote for this bill. A budget is a series of choices, and theirs are indefensible. I'll vote no. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Texas.
I reserve, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Texas reserves. Gentleman from Pennsylvania.
In that case, Mr. Speaker, I yield myself the balance of my time for the purposes of close.
Gentleman's recognized.
This has been a very long day after many, many days that have stretched into the night to the following morning, such as this one, after a very long 6 months on this bill. But what really matters in these next few moments is that the decision we have been entrusted by the American people to make will have ramifications for millions of our fellow Americans, and indeed for our country for decades to come. There may not be a lot of people able to watch at 4:05 in the morning, but in just a few short hours, some of them on Medicaid will be waking up and turning on the news to find out if what we did here tonight means they're about to lose it. Some of the people who get their health care from the ACA exchanges will be turning on their TV to find out what we've done in these next few minutes and if they will still be able to have health care. The folks like my dad who are on Medicare, who are writing in, emailing, calling us saying, don't cut Medicare, they will find out in a few moments whether or not we've pushed through the biggest cut to Medicare in American history. The kids who rely on SNAP, the Nutrition Assistance Program, they may not quite understand it, but make no mistake about it, what we are about to do in the next few minutes here will have a profound effect on their lives. Not to mention the millions of Americans who may not be on Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, or the ACA, but who rely on a hospital in a rural area, who now may see that hospital close because of the cuts that are in this piece of legislation. And of course, for many years to come, we and our kids and our grandkids are going to be saddled with even more debt to afford tax cuts for those who need them the least. This is not just bad economics. I believe it is immoral. I would remind us the Congressional Budget Office just last week found the final analysis of this bill, when all of its component parts are summed together. It found this: the bottom third of households would be poor, the middle of the country would be no better off, and the biggest benefit would go to the top 1% of Americans. This legislation makes the poor poorer, the rich richer, and the middle class left behind. On behalf of the millions of Americans who are relying on us to hold firm, on behalf of this side of the aisle, we say hell no. Vote no on this bill. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself the balance of my time. I want to start by thanking my good friend and ranking member, Mr. Brendan Boyle. He's a good American, and he's been a great partner and colleague, and I mostly appreciate his friendship. We convene here before the 4th of July. I think it's worth recalling those unalienable rights that sparked this American experiment, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our founders built this republic on the promise of freedom, the freedom to build, to strive, to pursue our own dreams. But that promise only thrives when government stays in its place, preserving liberty, not suffocating it with unchecked regulation and unbridled spending. This legislation reclaims that founding promise. It is the principal vehicle for advancing President Trump's America First agenda, unleashing a rising tide of prosperity, securing our border, modernizing our national defense, and supercharging energy, agriculture, all the sectors of our economy that Washington has kept in a chokehold for too long. Throughout this debate, Mr. Speaker, we heard one hollow Hail Mary attack after another designed to scare the American people and prey on their fears, the last gasp of a broken status quo. For our part, we put our trust in the American people. We appeal to their aspirations, and we deal in facts, not fear. They're the false claims that they make that this only helps the so-called 1%, the top 1%, the super rich, when actually it locks in the largest middle-class tax cuts in history, putting thousands of dollars back in the pockets of families still recovering from the crushing inflation and cost of living crisis caused by the Democrats' failed economic policies and unbridled spending. The complete distortion that Medicaid's being cut, when in fact it's being strengthened for our most vulnerable citizens by eliminating hundreds of billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse. The fallacy that work requirements are somehow punitive, when we know that they restore the dignity of work and lead to better opportunities and bigger paychecks. All their myths are headed for the ash heap of history. From day one, we said this was a generational opportunity to deliver the most comprehensive and consequential set of conservative reforms in modern history. And that's exactly what we're doing. This isn't our moment, Mr. Speaker. This is the American people's moment. And I urge my colleagues to pass this bill and open up that gateway to a new golden age of America. God bless America. Go West Texas, and I yield back.
Gentleman from Texas yields back. The gentleman from Missouri, Mr. Smith, and the gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Neal, each will control 15 minutes. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Missouri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before November, Americans wondered whether our best days were behind us. Democrats fueled inflation. They opened our borders, funded illegal immigration with your tax dollars, and increased IRS audits on the middle class, all while leaving the working class behind. President Trump promised to make America great again, and 77 million Americans supported that promise. They voted for change. The one big, beautiful bill delivers for the American people. This is the largest tax cut for working families, farmers, and small businesses in U.S. history. Households making under $100,000 will see a 12% tax cut compared to what they pay today. The average family of four will see nearly